Hi, my name is Brittany Kowach. I am in the HIM 2810 Non-Acute Healthcare Settings course. My project was on HIM operations and legal requirements of correctional facilities. So on that note, let's get started. 6,613,500. That's the number of inmates in correctional facilities as of December 31st, 2016. That is a lot of people. And that is also a lot of people that we have to offer health care to, that receive it. When we think about prisoners and receiving health care, we don't always think about the legal requirements. Are they protected by the same HIPAA laws that we are? Is there such a thing as protected health information? Those are just some of the things that we're going to talk about throughout this presentation. And we'll also talk about how prisons are reimbursed for the health care that they provide to inmates. And we will talk about the billing, if they use ICD-10 or CPT, and then any kind of accreditations that are required for a prison. So I'm sure everyone knows what a prison is, but just in case, a prison is a building where criminals are kept as punishment. And when someone talks about a correctional facility, they're usually talking about jails, prisons, and other places of incarcerations like juvenile detention centers. Prisons can either be state or federal facilities. And of course, they are used as punishment in our criminal justice system. And within a prison, there are several different types of wings. You have maybe a wing that is for celebrities or political figures that need more protection, your more violent offenders. And then, of course, you have a wing where your medical care is taken care of. An example of facility here in Gainesville, there were several that were located within a 100-mile radius of Gainesville. One of the more popular ones was Florida State Prison in Rayford. They have a maximum population of 1,400, and they've housed some famous inmates, Ted Bundy and Mark DeFriest. Their health care is provided by Centurion of Florida, which is who holds the contract for the Office of Health Services. And Centurion provides comprehensive medical, dental, and mental health services. There are several federal and state regulations that talk about health care in prison systems. Statute 945.025 states that medical, mental, and psychological problems must be diagnosed and treated whenever possible. Another statute, 945.06034, ensures that inmates are provided a constitutional standard of care. These healthcare standards include healthcare policies, healthcare plans, treatment protocols, and rules that relate to the management structure of the healthcare system and services provided to the inmates. These standards have to be submitted for review before they are adopted. And also the 8th Amendment of the United States Constitution has determined that prisoners have a right to adequate health care. Something else that we talk about is HIPAA. HIPAA is a huge thing in healthcare. And you might wonder if prisoners are privy to that same right, and they are to a degree. An inmate's identifiable health information has been deemed as a protected health information. That means that hospitals are responsible for an inmate's care, must follow HIPAA just as they would for any other patient. Like with anything, there are exceptions to the rule. An inmate does not have unrestricted access to their own medical records. like we would. According to statute CFR 164.524, an institution may actually deny an inmate's request if obtaining a copy of their record would jeopardize the safety, health, security, custody, or rehabilitation of the inmate, other inmates, if it affects the safety of an officer or employee of the correctional facility. They can actually deny access to the medical record for those reasons. The privacy rule also says that prior consent is not required when releasing protected health information for treatment, health care operations, or payment. It should also be noted that since a prison hospital is considered a covered entity, they may use or disclose protected health information without the authorization of inmates. And that is can be read in the CFR 164.512. And something else to note is, when you go to the doctor and you sign your HIPAA form, and they give you a notice of privacy, an inmate actually does not have a right to that notice of privacy that relates to their care while they are incarcerated. They don't receive the notice, and it also means that they don't get a notice after they are released. Some of the documentation requirements in a inmate's file, there are standard minimum rules that require a medical file on every prisoner. Their purpose is to document any medical care they receive, and that record must be retained for 10 years. There are different kinds of information that is included in that file. The sex of the prisoner, age of the prisoner, and their criminal record, any type of discipline measures that are taken, the nature of their transgression and defense and or appeal. If they are employed within the prison, they must employment details must be included in the file, earnings that they received, and any earnings they spend. Health and well-being. So things that are included in their health record would be medical examination report, medical treatment and medication prescribed, hospitalizations and any transfers, and any special dietary requirements that a prisoner might require, such as if they have diabetes or food allergies. Things like that must be documented in their file. And reimbursement and funding. So, like I said, there are millions of inmates in the prisons in the United States, and we have to provide health care for all of them. So it is a big budget item. At this point, $8.1 billion is spent on health care for inmates. That equals out to roughly $5,720 per inmate. Some of the services that are included are medical, mental, dental, and substance abuse services. The payment models within prisons is a fee-for-service model, and actually some prisons are starting to collect a fee from inmates. There's small fees, usually less than $20, and they are paid for by the inmate using their commissary fund, and that is funded by either family members or work that prisoners do within the prison system. So they definitely have to put some money through for their own health care, and a lot of times families pick up that bill. So standards and accreditations in prisons. We didn't really have any standards in the prisons until actually the 1950s. The American Correctional Association has published many manuals to improve facility operations in every area of the facility. So safety, medical, their day-to-day operations, they have been responsible for the improvement of our prison system. Currently, there are 102 facilities in Florida that hold the ACA accreditation. Another very important accreditation is the National Commission on Correctional Health Care. It is the most rigorous standards. Following these standards will ensure inmates receive the care that is granted to them in the Constitution. And we talked about that in the standards, the Constitution, the 8th Amendment, protects inmates and allows them proper medical care in a prison. And actually following their standards, those facilities are interested in quality improvement when they are looking at the National Commission on Correctional Health Care. And coding schemes. So prisons use ICD-10, CM, CPT, and HCPCS, and those codes are used to bill the contracted company for services rendered, and then they are paid. Diagnosis and procedures are also recorded in the inmate's electronic health record. So those are just a few of the basic coding schemes within the prison system. So to create a new file for a patient, there are a lot of procedures and rules when it comes to creating a new patient or a new file for an inmate, and a lot of information goes into it. Immediately upon detention, a person must be entered into the prison registry, and that registry would include a photograph, their fingerprints. The file should also include your basics, date of birth, age, marital status, and you must also include the identity of the spouse, their next of kin, and any children and an identity of them. You also have to include, why the prisoner was detained, where it happened, along with the date and time it occurred. A prisoner has a right to get in contact with their family or their counsel within the first week, and that must be documented. Actually, any contact that an inmate has with someone on the outside must be documented. Any kind of physical or mental health concerns that were reported or observed upon detention must be included, and then any personal items that were taken during detainment. All of those are included in the medical file or the inmate file. So that concludes our presentation on health information management and legal requirements in the correctional facility. As we discussed, healthcare costs are a big budget item for prisons. We spend over $8 billion a year. There are several standards and laws that protect inmates, that give them the right to a standard of care, that they are allowed to receive health care. And prisons can be accredited, and like we said, the accreditation didn't start in prisons until the 1950s, so it's fairly new with these accreditations, and prisons that work on getting their accreditations really make sure that they are following the laws when it comes to providing adequate health care to the prisoners. Thank you.